So my name is Tom Carlson. I'm the Chief Development Officer here at RiseUP, and this is our first attempt at our Fireside Forums. Really, the whole point of this is that, and certainly since I've been a part of RiseUP and been talking to people and talking to parents, there is just a lot of frustration and confusion and details, and the system just tends to be a relentless obstacle for a lot of people trying to get into not only the system, but just trying to take care of their loved ones. And here at RiseUP, we have got a lot of highly qualified experts in this field. Teri is one of them, and I want to introduce her in a second. But the point of all of this is just to be able to open up some conversations where we not only be able to share some information, but to really get a conversation going with people both in the industry and people who are trying to get in and take care of their loved ones in whatever context that is, to be able to just provide them enough information, enough conversation that we can feel empowered to actually be able to navigate this whole system and figure out how to make it all work. So that is the point of all of this. I think for procedure, if everybody could just put yourself on mute until about halfway through. This first part, I'm just going to ask Teri some questions and see if we can get some basic information out. And then we're going to open it up, and would love to have everybody else who's on the call to just think through some questions that they can be asking Teri. And we'll just see how the conversation goes. We'll try to wrap this up in right about an hour. And hopefully we'll have some really good information that we can not only save for those who aren't able to join us right now, but for being able to put up on the website and be able to even put it into a blog format. Maybe Mr. AI can help us out with the process of distilling this down. So again, my name is Tom Carlson, I'm Chief Development Officer here, and Teri is going to be our expert for the day. Teri has been in this industry for almost 30 years. So just, think about the longevity of that. She has seen a lot of things that have gone through this. In my conversations with her, she is not only somebody who knows what she's talking about, but she's somebody that cares deeply about the people that are involved, the people that are trying to navigate the system, the individuals that are involved. It's been wonderful, Teri, to be able to see your heart in the process of just getting to know you and getting to know your role in this organization. But you are the Senior Director of Quality Improvement here, but your expertise goes way beyond the role that you play. And so I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on here first for our first run at this. So if you would, could you just take a couple minutes, tell us a little bit more about yourself, what your role is here, sort of what are you bringing to the table here that maybe even beyond your expertise, just how have you been so involved in this process?
Well, like I was telling you a little bit ago, Tom, my history and my experience goes back to the late 90s. My very first job was working direct care in a 48-bed institution. And that to this day is my very favorite job. Making the institution not an institution and a home was our goal, and we did it. And I made lifelong friends through those years, but I also made lifelong friends with family members, not just the individuals that were living there. And to see the family struggle and the families wish they could have kept their loved one at home was heartbreaking. And so that has always been something that's been close to my heart, is the families involved as well. It was heartbreaking to see people that had no family at all, but it was heartbreaking to see people that had family that didn't know how they could be a part of their lives to the max. So I just worked my way through direct support, management, administration, and now in compliance. So I like to make sure that everybody is following the rules, but letting our individuals make some of those rules is also pretty important to me. So I don't know if I'm an expert or not, but here I am, so I'm going to give it a shot.
I think you are more of an expert than you're. I appreciate your humility and all of this stuff, but you have such a wealth of experience in all of this, and I think there is something about. I mean, we talk about transformative communities and the reality that this isn't just about the IDD individuals. This is about everybody else that's affected
Absolutely.
by their presence and the process of helping them develop capacity. I mean, this
Yeah.
changes everybody. You know,
Yeah.
when you're a DSP, you are really engaged in a way that calls out everything that's inside of you in the process.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of power in that, and it really does. It can be a transformative process, not just
Yeah.
for the individuals, but for everybody.
For
So.
everybody. Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the family caregiver waiver particularly. And before we start getting into details and process and requirements and all of the stuff, what is it about the family caregiver? I mean, you've already mentioned this a little bit, but what is it about the family caregiver waiver that really matters to you? Why is this important to you?
Well, the family caregiver setting is part of the HCBSDD waiver. So
Okay.
family caregiver falls under home and community-based setting waiver. The Family Caregiver Act was passed by legislation in 2008, but it was fully implemented in 2010. So it
Okay.
really wasn't that long ago that family members could be paid to take care of their loved ones. The DD waiver, the HCBSDD waiver, was introduced in Colorado in 1983. So we've come
Okay.
a long ways. Yeah. But the
So
family
it's been around for a
caregiver,
while then, yeah.
yeah, the family caregiver setting is an option to families, along with host homes, PCA, which is a 3-bed care alternative setting, which is staffing coming in. Independent living, we have people on the HCBSDD waiver that live independently. And again, as with family members, is also an option. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously from a governmental standpoint, it is a lot cheaper for the taxpayers to pay somebody to stay in their own home and to have their loved ones take care of them than it is to put them into another kind of setting or certainly a hospital or something like that. So, I
Right.
mean, as far as an economic standpoint, it's a huge part of what the government ought to be focusing on anyway, whether we actually are or not. But there's also much deeper implications in the sense that it's the people that really love the individual that are actually caring for them as well.
And one of my personal downside feelings about host homes, which there are many lovely host homes, our individuals move in with a family. They
Right.
move in with another family. That's not always, and many host home settings make them feel like this is their home, but
Sure.
that's sometimes not their home, and they end up moving frequently. So I like the Family Caregiver Act because if they are supported appropriately and thoroughly, it can be a lasting setting for someone, and that is huge.
That's fantastic. And obviously, I mean, as a host home provider, RiseUP, we want to be able to encourage that, especially for families that they simply don't have the capacity to be able to host their loved one in their own home. So, I mean, those are essential services. But you're right. I mean, there's something so much more valuable about being able to keep them within their own context.
Yes. And
Okay.
it's a lot. There are a lot of requirements, there are qualifications, and there are things that families have to put up with. And it feels invasive. I know it must feel invasive to some people. We just have to follow the rules that we're given. We have to follow all of the regulations that fall under the HCBS-DD waiver, and that's a lot. But we do our very best, and we have some of the best program directors in the world here at RiseUP, and we do our best to be very thoughtful of your home, thoughtful and respectful of your home. And even though there are a lot of requirements, we just want to make sure that people are healthy and safe and doing well. We're pretty trusting that if we bring you into our program and to be a part of the RiseUP family, we're going to get good care from people. So we are very careful when it comes to family caregivers that we don't invade privacy.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And
Yeah.
yet there's still times, and I know that a lot of families don't take advantage of something like the Family Caregiver Waiver.
Yep.
Why would somebody not want to participate, and what are the advantages when somebody does?
Well, a lot of people don't know that it's available.
Okay.
I can give a very special story because it's very special to me. I was at a provider fair at a case management agency about 10 years ago, and I was just representing the agency that I was working for at the time, and a family came, a husband and a wife and their daughter and their son both they were on the autism spectrum, and the parents said, we just happened to see a flyer that we could come here and you would help us get on Medicaid. And I said, that's not all that we can help with. And they said, we just aren't ready to put, their son and their daughter to services. We're not ready for that, but we know we're not going to be here forever. What do we do? How do we get help? And so my coworker and I gave information on the family caregiver settings, and they ended up becoming family caregivers. I ran into them about a year ago, and they are actually in the process of putting their son and their daughter in their own apartment. So that's another setting, as I was saying, within the waiver. But they lived at home for an extra 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't know. They had no idea that was an option for them. So I asked them when I saw them about a year ago, what were the best parts about it? And Karen, her name was the mom, she said the best part was my sanity. She said, I knew my kiddos were still going to be taken care of. And she said, I believe that it extended my life because I'm going to worry about them, even though they're adults, and I'm going to worry about them for the rest of their lives. I worried a lot less.
Yeah.
I asked her what the negatives and the downfalls were, and she said it was being told, you have to document, you have to tell us what you're feeding your kiddos, you have to let us come to your home once a month, you have to expect unannounced once a year. And she said it felt invasive, especially at first. She said, but it was so worth it. So it's a great story. It's very, very near to and dear to me. So yeah.
No, I think that's fantastic. And yet I also imagine that, for a parent who's trying to even considering this possibility, you're looking at all of these requirements, you're looking at the invasiveness of some of this process, you're looking at some of these things, and I can, just heard from parents who are sitting in their living room just thinking, oh my gosh, how could this even be worth it? How could I actually make it all happen? And I mean, let's be clear for anybody who's watching this either now or later on, we have people that can help, including Teri. You can help people walk their way through some of this process. But what I know, like for instance, one of the things that you've talked about before too is that there's also the situation that, especially if you're a parent, there's going to be a point where you're not going to be able to take care of your loved one anymore. I mean, we're older than our kids, and we age out at some point or another, and that transition can be hard if you're not already in the system. Is that right?
Right. If you have we used to call it a slot. But if you have a resource with the HCBSDD waiver and you choose the family caregiver setting, and let's say you realize that's not working for you, or your health needs are changing, your needs are changing, and you feel like your son or daughter or your loved one would be best in an independent apartment, they're ready for it, or they can be in a host home with another family.
Mm-hmm.
You've already got the resource, you've already got the funding to be able to be served in a 24-hour setting, access to a 24-hour setting. So it would be a matter of your team, your son or your daughter or your loved one's team getting together and making a decision. Okay, it's time to move on. We're going to move to a host home. And then that process should be pretty seamless if you've already got the waivers resource. Yes.
Gotcha. For somebody to join the Family Caregiver Waiver, to be able to get into the system, it is invasive, it is hard, it is difficult to get into it. But once you're there, not only are you getting Medicaid, dollars to help you through the process. You've also got a team of people who can help you through some of the really difficult situations, and you're already in the system in a way that makes transition into something different when that time comes for
Right.
whatever situation it is, because you're aging out, because your situation has changed, because your child's needs have changed, that you've got access to all of those other services in a way that you wouldn't have it if you weren't on the Family Caregiver Waiver, correct?
Right. Correct. And
So,
currently the waiting list is about almost 5,000 individuals on the wait list. So
and we're talking about governmental red tape, so that can take a while to work your way
yes,
through those 5,000. Yes.
yes, yes. So, and that's
Yeah.
even family caregiver settings. You know, people
Okay.
just to receive a resource, there's about 5,000 people on the wait list. So,
But better to do that while they're still in your home, so
right.
that when you actually need those other services, you can start moving straight into
Yes,
those other
exactly.
transitions.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Well, all right, let's get down into some of the nitty gritty then.
Okay.
For the, and I'm going to read this to make sure that I don't, the HCBSDD waiver. What does a family need to do? How difficult is it, and where particularly might a family need help to be able to get through this process?
Your first call is going to be to the intake person at the case management agency in the county you live in.
Like Dr. Pam here, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Paso County would be TRE. There's an
Yes, okay.
intake individual at TRE. There's intake person if you live in Denver County at Rocky Mountain Human Services. And we can certainly help guide you should you need to get a hold of someone at the case management agency in your county. If you're interested in your loved one getting services, we have a list of who to talk to and the numbers to call. So you feel free to reach out, because we're more than willing to guide you there. You're going to need to provide evidence of a substantial disability for your loved one before the age of 22, that the disability happened prior to age 22,
Okay.
to be more specific. Neurological diagnoses, any types of assessments from medical providers, just basically proving that your individual is in need of long-term services, care and services.
Gotcha.
And then they will get you in touch with a case manager who can get your process started for you. Yes.
Gotcha. And that seems like quite a bit. Is there some resources that somebody could access that would help them figure out all of that right there?
It would be a matter of calling the case management agency and saying, listen, I don't want to get into a crisis a year from now. I want to be proactive, and I want to see what services my loved one qualifies for. And they can walk you through, and it could be that you receive some supported living services until a resource becomes available for you. It could be into 2 years, could be 3 years. You never know. But it's going to be definitely getting in touch with someone at the case management agency and saying, listen, we've got to get the ball rolling. Where do we go from here?
So getting the ball rolling earlier than later is
Yes.
important, because it can take a
Yes.
while and you don't know what's necessarily happening in the future. And so getting things started now can make a big, big difference.
Right. And there are a lot of services and different waivers when your individual is a kiddo. There's a lot of stuff that you can do when they're kiddos to receive services. Then they become, they turn 22 and enter into the adult world. And it's more seamless at that time if you've already got some services of it in your back pocket. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the SLS waiver as well, too. How does the HCBSDD waiver, and the alphabet soup, I think, is just intimidating. I mean, it's intimidating for me, and and I imagine parents can get overwhelmed by this stuff. But let's just try to use it here. So the HCBSDD waiver, how does it differ from things like the SLS or some of the other waivers that parents might have access to?
The HCBSDD waiver allows for 24-hour care and access to care. SLS is supported living services. Individuals still do live at home, but they don't receive a resource to get 24-hour care. So they're billing per unit/hour for the things that are being provided to them in the home.
Got you.
Yes.
So the family caregiver waiver then really, when we say that, what we're talking about then is the HCBSDD waiver.
Right. It's the family. It's a family caregiver setting under the HCBSDD waiver. Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Are there anything specific like services or supports that are not necessarily covered under the family caregiver waiver?
Oh gosh, not covered. There are a lot of new things coming in July, but we're not going to talk about that today. We wanted to just kind of focus on the benefits of the family caregiver setting. But lots of new benefits are going to be offered in July, starting July 1, to people under the HCBSDD waiver as well. So lots of things to keep, people as independent as possible. And that's exactly what we want.
Gotcha. Yeah.
For those of you guys who are watching right now too, there's a few more questions that I want to ask, but please, if you guys have questions, you can either put them in the chat or raise your hand. I don't know if you guys can look down on the bottom on Google. There's a thing that says reactions, and there's a place where you can raise your hand. I think that's down there, the reaction level there. Or just unmute yourself and throw in a question as well too, because we'd love to make this more of a conversation too, if you guys would like to.
Yeah.
How about this? Are there special trainings or certifications that a family may need in order to be able to be a family caregiver? Is there things that the government requires from your sort of pool of qualifications in order to be able to do that?
Yes. Family members must receive the same training as host home providers, direct service providers, things like first aid CPR. You have to be QMAP certified, meaning you are certified through the state to give medications. Requirements regarding background checks. Anybody living in the home that is 18 or over has to have a background check run. And other trainings we at RiseUP provide are enormous. We have trauma-informed care training. We have company orientation, safety care, behavioral intervention. Oh my gosh, we have all kinds of trainings that aren't necessarily required, but we offer them because we are RiseUP and that's what we like to do. So yeah, lots of training. We offer a lot of training, but they also must fulfill the same monitoring requirements and documentation as a host home setting. So we come out to see you once a month at least, and then once a year we'll show up unannounced. You have to follow HUD requirements. For your home has to be HUD certified by one of us. And some agencies are getting away from this, but you can either be an employee or you can be an independent contractor. It's different for each agency, and how each agency is structured is different. But some do hire family caregivers to be employees. Okay. It does get tricky, but we at RiseUP contract with family caregivers. So we do not do employees, but there are agencies that do.
Gotcha.
Provide insurance and everything. Yes.
So, it sounds like there's enough requirements there that having a partner who actually knows the system and can help you guide through the system is ultimately worth it, even though you are, again, sacrificing a little bit of privacy there and some you're having to let other people into the caregiving process. There's a lot going on in that caregiving process that the state is going to require, the federal government is going to require, that these services actually become sort of essential things for you to be able to make it through.
We have to show and prove that we are teaching folks things, that we are providing habilitation. They like that word. So the documentation is we try really hard at RiseUP to make documentation as minimal but as worthwhile as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, whenever you're dealing with the state, some of it is just plain red tape and it's just
Yes.
hard to get through. But a lot of this really is essential too. I mean, to be able to have training in CPR, to be able to have some of those other things can be
Yes.
really important if that need came up. That would be
Yes.
an essential thing.
And it
So,
can provide you the tools to be a great advocate if that day ever came that your individual moves to another setting and someone else is responsible for their care. I really believe that it allows you lots of great tools to advocate to make sure that your loved one is taken care of and thriving.
and there also is respite opportunities as well with the family.
Yes,
What does that look like?
that would be a paid provider through RiseUP coming either coming into your home to stay in your home if you choose to go or you need to leave for a
Hmm.
week or two. Someone
Okay.
can come and live with your loved one. They don't have to move and take care of them, and they've been approved through us and trained through us. Or your loved one can go to a host home, let's say, for example, and stay there for a couple of weeks, which is always a good thing if you want to explore other options, if you want to
Yeah.
explore other settings and pilot it, see how it works. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe it would be that setting, maybe it would be a different one. You never know where life takes you. But the people that are definitely trained and approved through RiseUp are available to do respite, meaning take over for you while you get a break.
And that respite program, I mean, that's an important thing because no matter how much you love the individual, this is hard work. I mean, that's part of what makes it transformative in so many ways because it forces us to really put effort into just being human to some extent, and
Very much so.
that causes growth, it causes change, it causes
Yeah,
transformation in a lot of ways. But it's still really hard, and so to be able to have that chance to take a break, to have know
yeah,
that your loved one is taken care of in the middle of all of that, that can be huge for parents, I'm sure.
very true. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you also talked about the transition time too. What does it look like if somebody who is on the family caregiver waiver gets to the point where they realize, my health is declining, I can't do this anymore, or maybe my individual's behavior problems are getting a little bit too much, or they really need some independence of some kind, whatever the situation is, what does that transition look like once you're on, what does it look like? How about this? What does it look like without the family caregiver waiver, and what makes it different when you are on the family caregiver waiver?
Well, I think communication with RiseUp, RiseUp staff, and your case manager is huge. And
Okay.
making sure that your loved one's team is all on the same page.
Okay.
That's going to be huge because we want to make the best decision possible for that individual, whether it be, okay, it's getting to the point where we need to think about a move. Well, what's the best move to make? Can they live on their own? Do they go to a host home? But the communication, especially with us, is
Mhm.
huge. And we're always here for people 24/7. We're here for people and things. Our program directors, one thing I've noticed by being the compliance person, I've noticed that when documentation starts to come through, either from a family caregiver or a host home, that things are getting difficult, behaviors are changing, health is getting worse, if you will.
Mhm.
That communication coming from the person doing the direct support is huge. And we can see things and we look at documentation every day from people and say, wait a minute, that's like the third time in a week we've seen this. What's going on? And so being proactive and saying, how can we support this group of people, this mom, dad, whatever, and the individual is huge. Just to be proactive rather than saying, okay, everything, it blew up, it's time to move. We
Yeah,
don't want
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So we try to be as supportive as we can as things change.
Yeah, so and then that team can not only validate like on a corporate, or not corporate level, but on a governmental level, that this is a transition that needs to happen. It can also be, I'm sure, for family members who are a little bit of a frog in the pot kind of scenario where things have just incrementally gotten worse, that, maybe this really is time. You've got resources then to actually be able to talk to other people who can look into your situation and say, yeah, maybe this is time. Maybe it really is time for you to start making that kind of transition.
And we have a lot of family members that are willing to be support to other family members. They've said it. They're great supports to us. We've got family members that are family caregivers, people that, come to and are supported by RiseUP, and they're more than willing to help out and reach out to other families. We've got some great, great parents. So that's also an option.
That's fantastic. And we're actually beginning to talk with a group called Best Buddies that is also connecting parents who have some real experience with parents who are just getting into the system, and beginning to work with them to help developing some mentoring kind of relationships as well, which I think would be very, very exciting for that.
It is.
It's because it's one thing to hear about it from a case manager or from the professional, as it were. It's another thing to be able to just get with another parent who knows what it's like to be in the trenches and just, and navigate the system.
We've got great parents. Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, how about this? Anybody else out there, Devin or Matt or Sharon, anybody there that's got some questions that, yes, Sharon, love the people at Best Buddies too. Yes, they're great people. So Eva's asking, are there waivers available for all kinds of diagnoses? So if your child is a high functioning, like on the autism spectrum, or somebody who maybe has, we talk about the invisible diagnoses, the ones that, don't necessarily manifest themselves, and yet they clearly are situations. How do the waivers differ? Do the qualifications processes differ?
Very different waivers. Gosh, there are a lot of waivers. There's an EBD waiver, elderly, blind, and disabled, mental health waiver. There's a CES waiver for children. Children's Extensive Services is CES. The CHIRP waiver, Children's Habilitation, CHIRP, CHRP, thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so lots of waivers. And depending on diagnoses and needs, your loved one would be put into or underneath a waiver that made most sense. And whatever types of services and supports your loved one needed, there would be an adjustment onto a different waiver if needed. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, Devin's putting into the chat that Colorado serves 10 waivers for adults and children's. And that's a lot to navigate through. It's like, coming from a third world country and then seeing the cereal aisle in King Soopers. It's just overwhelming numbers of options. And sometimes having somebody who can walk you through that process can be huge. Devin, do you want to say anything about that? I know it'd be good to get your face up here as well.
Well, I don't know about getting my face up here, but the initial starting of the disability determination with your case management agency is probably the most daunting task for families, especially if it's the first time that they're dealing with the bureaucracy of the Medicaid system. When it comes to making your first phone call to your case management agency, if your loved one does have a disability, we have to prove that in the eyes of the state. And that sounds so ridiculous, right? But when we're dealing with the waivers, there are specific qualifications. And one of the things that RiseUP can help with is to assist the families in gathering that needed documentation and testing to submit with their application. All of that application is going to be done through the case management agency, but depending on their case levels, their stress levels, and their to-do list, something that RiseUP can help with is to help navigate through that system. I always encourage families, you can never have too much information to submit. Once they get the determination, then they are eligible to enroll onto a waiver. And like Teri said, depending on what the immediate need is, most families do not start out on the DD waiver at first. When you become 18 technically you are an adult, but the DD waiver encompasses it is all inclusive, 24/7 access to staff and medical care. We used to call that cradle to grave. It encompasses residential, medical, contingency planning, and other buckets of money that are available that Medicaid won't cover. One of the things that I find very helpful with the families is giving them the encouragement and the support. They're going to be doing the heavy lifting. We're limited as staff, but we can educate, we can encourage, we can offer to fax something to the doctor. Something as simple as that could really empower a family to tackle some other duties and give them the hope that, yes, it's daunting, but after honestly, maybe 2 to 3 months of completing the application and you get that eligibility determination, everything else does fall into place. So if we can present a friendly, supportive, encouraging atmosphere for our families that are caring for their individuals, it sets them up for other processes that they're going to deal with as their loved one does age.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think that this is an important point, Devin, and obviously you're another one of the people that people can get in touch with here. And again, this is just for resources here too. This is not even when somebody comes in to do the family caregiver waiver, this is not out-of-pocket expenses. This is all part of the process. Medicaid will cover it, but it's complex, and it's not just a journey of tasks. There's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of personal investment that families wind up making, and that can be as hard as all of the details they've got to be able to cover in the process.
We encourage families that are considering it to talk to others that are going through it, have gone through it, gone through the process of becoming family caregivers, and then really reach out to those that have the experience of being family caregivers, each other. We'll hook you up with, other family caregivers that know exactly what you're going through. And we're, our staff here are great. I can't say enough about them, but
Sure.
Definitely reaching out to others that have been through what you're going through. It will take you a long ways.
Sounds good. Sharon, are there ways that may I ask you to jump on and share a little bit? Are there ways that that autism may differ from other forms of IDD as far as like getting the waivers or sort of interacting with the system?
Well, I think that it's really hard because with autism, it is such an individual, diagnosis, and every individual is different. So I can't say that, oh, you have this, so you probably would be best for this waiver or that waiver. It all comes down to, getting that formal determination from your doctors and your adaptability skills and your functionality skills and all that kind of stuff. And then like going through TRE or going through somebody knowledgeable to figure out, what should I be asking for? At this point, if you have autism only, you're not going to qualify for the CES waiver. It's just not enough anymore. It used to be that, you might be able to slide by there, but at this point, if you're not sleeping at night, like if the parent doesn't have to be up all the time during the night and there aren't other medical things that are being dealt with, you're not going to get on that waiver. So it's just it's an individual one-on-one thing more so than I can say, oh, well, if you have Down syndrome, you qualify for this waiver, or if you, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that really is helpful. And I think the individuality of so many of these things. I mean, it's true that autism particularly, there's so much different functionality in the way that somebody is autistic. It's not like you can just create a blanket diagnosis and then everybody fits under that. There's so many different pieces of individual stuff, and there's that real need for customization in a care plan for any individual. But I mean, obviously autism can add sort of a whole nother level of dimension to that process.
Yeah.
What other questions do people have? Are there other questions that you guys would like to ask Teri?
I have a question. Oh.
Yeah. Well, we'll get Matt next. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't smart enough to use the hand raising feature. So, and Matt did the old fashioned one there, so that's admirable.
Do you have video, Joe?
I do.
Yeah, come on.
Calling me out. Here we
There
go.
we go.
So for adults, is there an advantage for someone who isn't in need of residential care to stay on SLS, or is it like something that they should be pursuing that to get on the almighty DD waiver? Is there more does it provide flexibility at all? For context, I have a 21-year-old son who is on the SLS waiver, who has Down syndrome, and so I think I've heard some varying things as to like, hey, there's some advantages of staying on this if you don't need the residential part. So I'd be interested in that.
Absolutely. It gives you access to support, and because life is not easy, as you know, with a loved one that has the needs that they do. But absolutely, when he turns 22, that will open up, Devin, am I right? Open up a whole nother ballgame, and you have access to the opportunity to receive more comprehensive services should you need them. Go ahead, Devin. I know you're going to say something.
Bill, most people usually start out on the SLS waiver if they don't need the residential. Under Family Caregiver, most of them already have a home. However, Joe, I want you to think about talking with the case manager and getting on the DD wait list. Since you can't automatically enroll onto the DD wait list, we do want you to make sure that your case manager knows that at some time in your son's life, you will be exploring the DD waiver. So you can literally just sit on a waiting list and recoup all of the services that the SLS waiver has to offer. When an extenuating circumstances present itself and the time comes to move on to the DD waiver, that's where you've got the residential component. So you don't have to worry about where's my boy going to go. That DD waiver will give you the housing component and all the current waiver services under the SLS waiver that you're currently utilizing. There will be additional services offered onto the DD waiver when that time comes. But what we encourage families is to make sure that your case manager knows that you want to be on the wait list, and at some time in the future, you may be exploring that when the time comes.
Do you have access to day program now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's important to keep because that's the fun stuff. But yes.
And if I can ask a second follow-up question without Matt getting mad at me, is so for adolescents, if someone is on the CES waiver, does that, I've heard that then when they become an adult, that has the ability to transition straight to the DD waiver. Is that a true statement or not?
CES, I think, transfers to CHIRP. Am I right? To the CHIRP waiver, which is no.
CES can go straight into the DD waiver as it is right now. Now, when all the changes come through, I don't know what's going to be what. We're going to have to relearn everything again. But right now, CES can, if they want to be on the DD waiver, they can be on the DD waiver, or they can slide in and do SLS. We always encourage people to take the DD at that point, because if you turn it down, you'll be on a wait list, and it may be 20, 30 years before you can get back on again.
Yes.
Okay. Because I also have a 10-year-old who is on the CES waiver. So.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah, I think that, this is one of these things that, again, this system is complex, and there's a complexity to it that just is, it is not user friendly. It's not, there's no real effort to be made to make it user friendly. And that's part of why having people who can help walk you through some of this process is just so essential. So,
yes.
Matt, what were you going to ask?
Yes, I don't want to sound negative, but in my head is always towards the safety of the clients. And Teri mentioned that the families get surprise visits as part of the audit. I think that's fantastic. That's super important. I was going to ask about that earlier. Also, you mentioned lack of privacy. Is there a financial transparency component of that lack of privacy to make sure that the funds are utilized in the correct manner?
Absolutely. We monitor the family caregiver homes just as we do the host homes. But they are also paid. We contract with family caregivers. Some agencies employ them, but we pay family caregivers exactly what we pay host homes. they are paid exactly the same. They're not paid any differently. A daily rate, including room and board. Yes.
Thank you.
So because it's a job and we have a lot of requirements, and we're paying people to teach, even though they're adults, we're paying people to teach our individuals life skills. Definitely.
It is a job, and sometimes they cannot care for themselves, and we need to advocate for them. If we just snooze, we lose a big component in that part.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I mean, this is one of the advantages to this. I mean, obviously, for somebody who's is taking care of a loved one, they don't know about this kind of program. This is the kind of thing where you can get the resources you need to be able to keep your loved one in your home, get you the resources you need in order to be qualified and capable to be able to manage the situations that come up. And then again, not only are you getting then paid to take care of your loved one, which from the government standpoint is way cheaper than having your loved one wind up in a hospital someplace. You've also now in the system in a way that you can transition to a different situation when that time comes in a way that's much more seamless and much more it avoids having to start that process and all of that red tape at the beginning, that you can make that transition when you need to. So,
Absolutely.
all of these things are huge parts of this process. And so for anybody who's out there who's listening to this, please do get in touch with Teri, Well, Teri, is it okay? And Devin, and
Absolutely.
is it okay if we put your emails up on the page we'll put it underneath the video so that people can email you directly?
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things that I really loved about RiseUP and this organization is that it's not only do we have a lot of experts in the field, but these are actually people who care and that really want to help in a way that I think is just powerful. There's a lot of experts out there that it's hard to know whether they really care, and there's a lot of people who really care who really it's hard to know whether they know what they're talking about. We've got some people who really have both, and that's a powerful thing. And Joe, at some point we need to get you up here too to talk about arts, and Joe's part of Club 21, which is another one of our partner organizations, and they are doing stuff with Down syndrome and helping do performances over Christmas, just giving an outlet for, again, a different level of capacity building for individuals, particularly with Down syndrome, but who are working their way through disabilities. So that's a really powerful thing. We got a couple more minutes. Are there any other questions or any other points that people would like to make before we wrap up? Go ahead, Joe.
I have one more. So the first was a personal question. This one maybe is more of an organizational question from my Friends of Club 21 hat. So we have about 60 families or so that we engage with that come and participate in our mainly our Christmas show, right? So we put on a Christmas show called Christmas This Year every year. And so we get a lot of folks that move from other places or are new to town or whatever. And I'm interested to know if somebody is receiving, we're on Medicaid waivers in another state that has a program similar to Colorado. Does that speed up the process for them to get authorized in Colorado, having already been somewhere else? It's just like, we don't know you, trudge through the whole thing.
Other than they will have the experience under their belt, it doesn't speed up anything here in Colorado. You start from scratch, definitely. So, unfortunately.
If I had to put money on an answer, that was the answer I would have bet on. But
the only thing that would carry over is if you have Section 8 housing. And that is only if, though, they have availability, which is never. So
it's never. Yes, you're right, Sharon. Thank you. Yes.
Gotcha. Great question, Joe. Terrible answer. Come on.
I know.
I don't blame RiseUP for that answer.
Yeah. No, it's reality. It's not intent by any stretch.
Yes.
So. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, we do need to close up. I want to make sure we honor everybody's time here, but thank you guys all for participating and being a part of this conversation. Again, hopefully this is just the one of many. Through the rest of the summer, we're going to just make these one-offs. We're just going to do a few of these here or there elsewhere. And then by the fall, we'll see if this turns into something. Maybe this becomes a podcast. Maybe this becomes just a regular Zoom community group. We're really not sure what it's going to look like, but right now we just want to get people engaged and start the conversation going, and just get people around the fire, as it were. And let's get some light and some warmth in the process and see where we can go.
Thank you all.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. Yes, definitely. Take care. And again, look to the website here in the next week or so when we get this video up. If you need Teri or Devin's email address to talk about some of this stuff, set up a conversation, you're more than welcome to do that. And you can always just contact us through the main website, and we can put you in contact with the people you need to get in contact with.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.